Stop me if you've heard this one before, like anywhere from anybody. I like Jaylen Warren. I think he might even be better than Najee Harris. I'm just not sure he can carry the load. He has too many injuries. Heard that one? Cool. Stay with me here. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. In this modern era of football, meaning modern era of civilization, you can just Google stuff. And one of the things that you can Google is everybody's injury history in the NFL. And it gets crazy specific. They even have like a graphic of the human body that points to everywhere that they've been hurt, how often they've been hurt there, how many games they missed, the degree of the sprain, and everything else. So I'm going to read to you the Warren injury history in its entirety. Remember that he broke into the league in 2022 as an undrafted free agent. In that season, in November, he had a thigh hamstring strain/pull. It was a grade 1 by all accounts. That's really, really minor stuff. Initially, he was ruled in that game as questionable to return. He was later ruled out for the remainder of Week 11. He also missed Week 12. All right, you still with me? All right, August 17 of this past year, that was in a preseason game. Warren went down with a thigh hamstring strain, and he was immediately ruled doubtful to return. But remember that that's going to be normal in a preseason setting. Why would you keep running him? That one was deemed a grade 2, so a little bit more severe. And I talked with Jaylen after that game, after that happened in the preseason, and he told me, and nobody knows their body the way a professional athlete does, that he wasn't going to miss any time, and he didn't. He was limited when he played in the opener in Atlanta, but not severely so. And finally, on September 22, Warren hurt his knee, and he ended up missing 2 games. It was considered to be a grade 1 strain. Again, nothing serious. So over the course of his NFL career, he has missed, count them with me, 1, 2, 3 games. That, my friends, for someone who plays the way he does, who puts out the way he does, who initiates punishment, never mind how he handles it, the way he does, is not an injury-prone player, and that is not a player who should be constantly, from what I see here and read, constantly having his durability questioned. Now, maybe it gets questioned more than it should, to be fair to those who question it, because the head coach of this operation so hugely favored the other guy in almost every circumstance that you began to think that Warren wasn't available, or that Warren wasn't durable, or that Warren couldn't handle the grind. We have no earthly idea if he can or can't. Because A, Najee Harris, to his credit, didn't get hurt very often either. And B, to repeat, the head coach liked the other guy a lot and wanted him to become the bell cow. You knew that term was coming, right? Yeah. Mike Tomlin's been that way since he's been in the league. He loves to have a running back that he can ride, and he wants to ride that running back until the wheels fall off. He was ready to do it with James Conner. He was ready to do it, and did it actually, with Le'Veon Bell. And he embraced openly. This wasn't something he was keeping secret from anybody. He embraced the idea of being able to do that with Harris. It's just part of his thing in his position. He's got a few of those. That's absolutely one of them. Now, whether or not Harris returns, and I I've gotten so many indications that he won't, not just from the team, but also from him, that I think it would take a crazy circumstance for that to occur. Like nobody would want him and he'd come crawling back on his hands and knees. And if, in fact, he doesn't, I can only hope that whatever arguments are made internally regarding how the Steelers will replace Harris, how the Steelers will staff their backfield, what kind of players they might be looking for, whether it's someone who's complementary, whether it's someone who's a clear backup, whether it's someone who's more of a pass-catching type, or stripping this all down, whoever it is that they'd happen to get in the draft, especially if they invest a high pick. That is not being ruled out by anybody. Whatever that is, here's hoping that it's made with clear eyesight as to who and what Jaylen Warren already is. He can be, he should already have been a feature back in the NFL. And part of the reason for that is that, yes, he's durable. Based on the carries he has had, based on the touches that he has had, including catching the football, he's held up quite well. So whatever it is that gets done, dispense with the mythology first. When we come back, J1Q. This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar. Today's J1Q comes from Scott Timko, who says, "Hi, DK. With the caveat that I am so far outside the organization, I have no possible insight. Why would TJ Watt so strongly insist that he wants to stay in Pittsburgh after what he's endured in the month of January over the course of his career and having his brother's experience in Houston as a cautionary tale? From a pure winning perspective, shouldn't he at least consider a change while he still would command top dollar? Maybe take some time to decompress from the season and make a more thoughtful career decision. Even if you were to take the cynical money-only view, I would think there'd be a way to leverage his position into a bigger contract." Scott, this is going to be one of those answers that brings a roll of the eyeballs from probably about 3/4 of the people who hear it, and I don't care because I believe it. TJ is just the biggest softy when it comes to the Steelers and to Pittsburgh. I don't know of 3 individuals in all the time that I've been around the Steelers who see themselves so tied to this franchise the way that he does. His ambition, if you want to talk about from a team perspective, his ambition is to right the wrong in Pittsburgh. His not having won a playoff game in Pittsburgh is a wrong. He wants to right that, and he can only do that here. He wants to help Cam Hayward get to a Super Bowl. He can only do that here. He wants to be, and I'm going to be careful how I phrase this because I don't want to make it sound like he's seeing himself as some great player or whatever. That's the total opposite of who he is. But he loves the idea of being part of a legacy of not just great teams, meaning throughout the Steelers' history, but also great players. He sees how those guys are welcomed when they come back. He sees and hears and feels the respect, the adulation, the love that these other guys experience. And that's stuff that you see on the field from him, whether it's the big kick after the sack or the times, between whistles when you'll see him more than any player on the field motion to the crowd like, "Get going, we need you." That's not an act. That's who he is. I have had more conversations with this young man about the Pittsburgh crowds than I have with every other Pittsburgh athlete I've covered combined in my career. He loves it. He soaks it up. He feeds off it. And more than anything, he's proud of it, especially and doubly so when it happens in Pittsburgh. The road crowds are great, having everybody cheering for you and the expats and all that other stuff. But when it's here, when it's in our city, for him, it's at some other level. So look, if the Steelers told TJ, and they're not going to do this. This is the most ridiculous of hypotheticals. But if the Steelers told TJ, listen, man, you know what? We're just not interested in you anymore. We're not going to pay you. We're going to try something else. We're going to move in another direction or whatever. Don't get me wrong. He could turn on it in a hurry, okay? But that's not at all remotely the scenario. He knows where he's headed when he's done. He knows that he wants it to be as a Steeler in every capacity, but he also knows he has unfinished business, and that can only be addressed where he already is. I appreciate the question. Really, really good one. I appreciate everybody who listens to Daily Shot of Steelers. Don't forget, we have a double shot show coming up your way this afternoon, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's when it premieres. We'll do this thing again tomorrow.